Taking Charge, the podcast.
Take charge with successful businessman, world-renowned speaker, and best-selling author Mark Januszewski in a podcast whose time has come. And everybody knows nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. This is where we end the self-help hustle and heartache and arm our listeners with all they need to access a remarkable power, a power beyond measure. And it's already within you. It's within all of us. If you've listened to self-help recordings or read books or gone to a weekend retreat, then you've spent money, like so many in the $12 billion industry called self-help, an industry that offers no proof that what they have actually works. Some nice, heartwarming, and inspirational stories for sure, but no numbers, not ever. What percentage succeeded or are happier? And like myself, you probably took a nugget or two, but not really much changed with relationships, money, waistline, and it hurts. The one exception, the Master Key Experience, which publishes annually a success rate of over 98% happier, healthier, and more successful people. Mark co-created the MKE, combining science and spirituality with his wife. Over 30 scientists and the illuminated ones spanning 4,000 years. I got good news and I got bad news. Most people want the bad news first. You got hustled. You got hurt. And because you want to improve, it was on to the next trendy thing. Sort of rinse and repeat. More money, more time, more, no real change. Next trendy thing. The great news is you'll learn on these podcasts with Mark and former average people that are now rock stars in their own lives, how you can quickly locate, access, and harness the remarkable power already within yourself so you can create and manifest a life second to none. You'll quickly discover that there really are no common people. There is greatness within you, and this podcast will help you find and develop your greatness. The best news is it's in you, and so it's free.
Hey, aloha, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Taking Charge. I'm really excited today. I'm Mark J., and I'm on the beautiful island of Kauai. Now, as is the custom, if you haven't been here before, we always start by extending aloha to everybody. It's really a blessing. It's not really just hello here. Hello means the divine, and ha is the breath. So may the breath of the divine be on you so that you can uncover the two things that everybody on these podcasts talk about and what I talk about individually. You know, the secret to success in life, in all areas of your life, is there isn't any secret. People have been talking about it for 4,000 years. The illuminated ones have carried it for over 4,000 years. I'm really excited today because this is one of those fabulous stories of rags to riches, but more than that, someone that was failing, wet behind the ears. And I broke his chops when I met this kid early in life. As a 20, 23, 24-year-old kid. I got a call about a kid. He said, "Hey, they got this kid, Mike Boggs, and do you want to work with him?" And I said, "I don't want to work with him." And a couple of people said they didn't want to work with him, that he was a pain in the ass. And I talked to him for about 5 minutes, and I could see that he wasn't. He was asking the right questions and these hype meisters didn't want to deal with it. So I started working with Michael, and suffice to say, the short version is Michael was a student. A great student, and he's become my teacher. It's one of those, he became a master, and he's brought me into the 20th century. I still wouldn't have a computer if it wasn't for Michael. Didn't you read George Orwell's 1984? They'll be tracking everything that we do, which they are, but Michael convinced me that overall it was worth it, and it's taught me how to protect myself. Let me tell you a little bit about Michael. He's gone from rags to riches, certified millionaire, actual cash, not on paper, real estate, not that that's bad, but was failing in networking, doing okay, but struggling. and he's vaulted himself into a very successful network marketer, 7 figures, certified, real, not on paper, fake, but real, okay, in the bank, and decided to leave the industry and did something unheard of in this industry. He asked if he could use some of my trainings and wanted to pay for them because he felt that he could put a package together and sell it to a network marketing company. And we kind of argued about that a little bit. And I said, I didn't want anything. I thought he might do something big in the industry someday. And we went back and forth. And anyway, that he called and asked rather than just taking ethics in network marketing. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, ethics in any business today, right? So that is sort of Michael's character, always doing the right thing. Anyway, did make a great deal of money with that and decided to leave the industry because he saw what I saw in that industry, and that was what should have been a great marriage between the internet and the direct sales industry was a disaster, as most of these companies abandoned training and just signed people up and left them to suffer out there on their own, and leaders teaching all kinds of different things and confusing people. That's another story. But anyway, so Michael said, this is crazy. You're right. You know, we had talked about it in the wee small hours of the morning. Of course, this story now spans from 2005 to 8, spreading over 3 or 4 years. And the next thing I know, he buys 2 Papa John's franchises, and he buys ads on a Subway. So he's owning. Now, this is all before the age of 30. So I'm paying attention. And he gives me a call and he says, do you realize what you put together, because I actually put it together, but Michael actually refined it and perfected what we called the CHI system, which was a standardized way to build a team, right? Everybody doing the same thing. If you want duplication, it's a good idea if everybody's doing it the same way. The system should be the star, not an individual. But anyway, Michael had found the flashpoint, the trigger, which is it all begins in the mind. And he started to think, when running franchises, why should I work 16 hours a day when I can work 16 hours a week? So he became even more sold on this system that I had started and Michael perfected and made it even better. We made a ton of money together. And so he came back in the industry and got into the crypto space eventually. Michael's goal was always to create a company where even the end user, that is the customer, could earn money rather than spend money. I said, now there's an idea whose time has come. And everybody knows nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. But the idea of that and the reality hadn't merged yet. And so we kind of stayed in touch, and then cryptocurrency hit the space, and Michael's computer skills way ahead of the curve. He became a compliance officer for several companies and compliance in the crypto space. And then he saw an opening in this crypto space where the end user can make money. And believe me, he saw people getting bled to death with all these scams and con games about fake mining deals and everything else, and saw an opportunity because, folks, nothing can stop an idea's time has come. And the idea of cryptocurrency is here. It's not coming. It's here, and nothing can stop it. But you need to educate yourself. So Michael saw a chance to educate people about it, so even customers could earn. And I love that. But what I really love is seeing a young man learn the 2 things that make people successful in life. That it all begins in the mind. You've got to transform your mind. Okay, if you remain the same person, it's a guarantee that the results are going to be the same. And you've got to get off the couch. So I'd like you to welcome Michael Boggs. Michael, just a real pleasure to have you here today. How are things in Pennsylvania?
It's not raining, so it's it's been good, and it's really nice to see that you are able to turn on the computer. So I'm very happy about that.
Well, I only needed Davine's help for about 15 minutes this morning, down from 20. Anyway, welcome to the podcast. Taking charge, of course, is about taking charge of your mind. So let's rewind the clock back around 2004, 2005, and you had ambition. You were struggling to manifest what you wanted, and you had a tough upbringing. Things didn't go great for you as a kid either. So let's take that excuse out of everybody's excuse pile. We don't need to get into all that history. He didn't have an idyllic childhood. We'll leave it at that. Had ambition, and here we go. Okay. You're 22, 23 years old, trying to get ahead in a direct sales company and struggling. What changed for you?
The biggest part of it was so much failure. I mean, because everyone needs to know that I actually started when I was 18. So from 18 to 24, I was failing up, like I was failing forward, and trying to find that right connectivity. And why was it that why wasn't I getting the interest? Why wasn't I getting the people that I thought were interested? Why weren't they coming into the business to be a part of what I thought was a great opportunity? Regardless of what the company was, the company is only as good as you present it, or what the person at the end believes that you are transmitting that information. So lo and behold, at the age of 24, I met you. Actually, I didn't meet you. I was thrown at you. I was thrown at you. And that was, a gift from God. I mean, it was just a chance that, the multiple people that were actually on the same team didn't want to work with me. And don't get me wrong, I've had some, and I still do. A lot of the great coaches that I had at the very beginning are still with me, the ones that were true. But when I met you, and for all of you guys that are going to be watching this, the MKE and the Go 90 Grow and everything, that's nothing to the way Mark was, almost 20 years ago. I mean, that's nothing. This is easy. Like when he said, I mean, he was cutthroat. It was, you need to do it this way. If you don't do this way, I'm not going to talk to you. If you don't do your homework, we're going to reschedule for the next day. So I took that, and you got to remember, I was young, so let's not say that my main focus was trying to build a big business at that time. But doing that education and those steps and reading and building myself up to understand that the reason I was failing was truly because of me. It wasn't about a product. It wasn't about a compensation plan. It wasn't about the company had 19 different products that you could choose from. It was me. It was because I did not believe in myself, which then automatically and subconsciously transmuted to the person I was talking to. And until I fixed that, then it was like, it was switch. And the moment that happened, my bottom went way up. And it was literally, I mean, yes, time went by, but I mean, literally it was overnight. And it was applying the sound principles of doing things the same way as what was already taught and worked and was proven. There's a reason why McDonald's does it a certain way. There's a reason why Burger King does it their way. Every franchise out there has literally a book like this that you have to follow.
Right. But it really begins in the mind.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So we start, you got to remember the Croc, the Burger Kings and all that. It really started in the mind. And that's the first thing we have to get right. I remember when we first started talking, there was skepticism on your part. And I remember this Master Key experience, or MKE, that Michael's talking about. Michael got that from me every night, about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night till about 11:30, yelling or coaxing over the phone.
There was more yelling than talking.
Yeah, because I knew something, and I knew there was a little skepticism maybe on Michael. I don't know what was going through your head at the time, but I sensed that is that when somebody takes a new job, gets into a new relationship or whatever, the outcome is predetermined before the ink is dry on the application based on their self-esteem. True or false?
That's true.
So we've got to raise our self-esteem or self-worth, right? And that's really what you're talking about. The techniques and systems don't matter if that's not there, because we'll blow it up anyway. Yes. Right. What's your experience with that?
It was confidence. Confidence was a big one. I mean, you were firsthand with that, and doing 3-way calls with me, building confidence. And once the confidence and the self-esteem got higher, because you got to think, I mean, I had failed my way to you for 6 years. Like, I mean, literally. And by the off chance that, I would hit and miss, but it wasn't, you can hit and miss in any company that you're with, but having the sustainability of the stories that you hear at the top of the mountain or the top of the iceberg, which is what everybody sees, creating that starts with yourself. You start with your self-confidence, daily reading, build yourself up, and people will hear in the tone of your voice that you actually you pride yourself in what you're doing and believe in where you're going. Because if you don't believe in where you're going, you might as well just stop. And what's your end game?
Right. And I want to say something about this and get your feedback on it. Believing in where you're going, it's not about believing in the pill, the potion, the lotion, the insurance policy, the haircuts that you can give, or anything else. It's about believing that you can get yourself there. Right. Okay? It doesn't matter where you're going. It's the yes or no.
That's correct. No, because if you can't see the destination, it's like driving a car. Are you just going to continue driving blindly down the road and hope by the off chance that you're not going to hit somebody or something, or just drive off the cliff? It's the same principle. If you yourself don't believe in where you're going with whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You can apply the same principle to a job. You can apply the same principle to the business. Because if you're not believing that you're going to make it further in what you're currently applying in your life, you might as well just start over or give up.
I hope you're getting this giant piece of wisdom that this master is giving you right now. What he's saying is, you've got to know that you can drive the car. It doesn't matter what the company, the technique, the method, the product is. That's external. You have to know that the kids in your car, your dream, whoever you're encouraging to come with you, whatever, that you can get in the car, turn it on, and that you can get there safely. That you can get there, that you can drive the car. Right. You can drive the car. Right. So it doesn't have anything to do with anything else. No, you can make anything work, right?
Correct. Because again, you got when people, like when I work with people, like there's a gentleman by the name of Mr. Hanks. Like when you're driving a car, you also need to be prepared for things to happen. Just because point A and point B can be seen doesn't mean that in between point A and B you're not going to get a flat tire, or the car is going to overheat, or the air conditioner is going to break, or whatever. Stuff's going to happen. And just because you might need to take a side road doesn't mean that you still can't get to point B.
Or you're being pushed in a better direction.
Right.
A shortcut. I mean, that's happened to you in the last year.
Yes. Yeah.
You get pushed in an entirely different direction, right? So this idea that Michael had to start a company using, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but where the end user could actually make money rather than spend money without going and selling anything, because a lot of people don't like to sell. The vehicle resisted the change you'd be smaller than you are now.
Right.
Tell us how you are able to detach when these changes come, because I have had a few conversations with you when the shit hit the fan and you're like, "Ah, where are you now?" Well, I'm watching my kids do gymnastics. It's like, your whole life doesn't get upset, whereas it can for people that are not detached, that realize, oh, change in direction. Maybe something better is going to happen.
Right.
How did you get there?
That was progress and personal development, because with you always got well, it's funny that we're doing a podcast, but like your family is a pod, your business is a pod, and your extracurricular activities are a pod. So, but you need to become emotionally detached from each pod. So what's going on here? Like, the conversation could have been different if the emotions was attached to the family pod. Like, the kid just ran into the back of the car with the bike, or she flung out or slipped on the deck for going into the pool. But emotion in business, like, you need to leave emotion at the door when it comes to business. And yes, it's okay to vent, but when you realize that just because something is in your way, or known as a resistance level or a side street resistance, doesn't mean that you can't push through it. It's going to happen regardless of whatever you're doing. It can, again, that can happen in anything: job, business, extracurricular activities. If you work out at the gym and you hurt yourself, or you do too much, or you here's a good one, Mark, or you overextend yourself, that you find out, your student finds out that, when you're traveling and like you're actually overextended yourself, and then you find out when you get here. But you emotionally detaching yourself from each environment allows your emotions to stay in check. So you shouldn't carry your personal emotions from business to personal, from personal to business, because then you start colluding your end goal.
Right.
Point A and B in family is completely different than point A and B in business, and then your extra. So same thing. So when I emotionally detached, when stuff was going south, or things weren't diverting or going as quickly as I wanted them to, it's okay to sit back in the chair and be like, okay, there's a reason why this is happening. So what is it going to take me to sit back and write down? And this is really big. You need to write down what's in your way to get back to getting on the path and going to point B. So when you sit back, emotionally detached from the frustration, the anger, or someone called you and something didn't happen, on focusing on there, or because you work with people that have, or what I call attention hogs, but sitting back, writing down what's in the way, and then formulating a plan to continue on the journey. It's not easy to do in the beginning. It's something that you have to develop, because I know you and I have been on so many conversations, and X is going on over here with your business and you're venting, but we can immediately stop with that conversation and be like, so how's the sea turtles doing?
Yeah.
And it's a completely different tone, because we're done venting or complaining about that. We're emotionally detached, and we go on to, so it's hard. It's very hard to do, especially if you're new to it. Yeah.
Yeah, at first.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that triggers it for people, and we talk about it on these calls a lot, and you mentioned daily reading. We talk every day, everybody that goes through the Master Key course, and everybody that gets into this spot, that Michael's describing, whether they go through this course or they find their own path, seems to make the time daily to feed their mind and quiet their mind. Now, you started this back in 2004-05 that I know of with me. and you were taught this course taught this concept individually and continued. How much time do you spend on that still today?
I do an hour a day.
An hour a day.
Hour a day.
An hour a day.
30 minutes in the morning, and then 30 minutes before I go to bed.
Okay.
Every morning, every evening.
Here's the big thing, folks. We're trying to give this to you every which way but loose. Different people, different personalities. You're hearing from sophisticated business people who with the silver spoon that were unfulfilled to blue-collar street hustlers like me, to Michaels and everything in between. Okay? They make the time every day to feed their mind because the world within creates the world without. There's 3 M's are mind, mechanism, that's whatever your vehicle is, whether it's beauty shop, bar room, network marketing, whatever. That's the thing that's going to churn the dough, okay, to the resources to manifest the things that you want, right? And then the skills or techniques to do a little better with the mechanism to give you the edge. So the mechanism and the skills, like Mike said, you can, do okay. It's hit or miss. But if the mind is right, all those things improve dramatically. So you've got to make the time. So here it is. Millionaire compliance officers, helped a lot of companies, has created a concept in his mind before it existed. Then crypto came, so he actually could put end users, customers in a deal, and they could earn money with their money instead of spending money, which is great. Making friendships, changing people's lives, okay? Actually, Michael's like me, doesn't really change people's lives. He creates an environment where people can change their lives if they'll do the second of the 2 things we always talk about here, get off the fucking couch and do the work. Yes? Okay? That's, that's the bottom line. So, but motivation is here. It's not some speech that some guy makes on stage who, crawled out of a fire and had, all these things against him and did a great job. They're great stories. So it's really about focus and this ability to detach, but it began in that reading and sitting every day. Okay. Right. Tell me, as you started the ideas of forming this company, I know from conversations we had, as we saw this marriage and both of us sort of migrated out of the industry because it became a train wreck as these companies that stand up there and say, oh, we love you, we're family, and they abandon any and all training. You get all these leaders putting up conflicting trainings everywhere, and it opened the door for all these con artists and gurus that never did it. Great marketers, though. Gotta give them the nod there. 4 of the 5 top guru peddlers out there never did it, but that's another story. We love them. God bless them. Great hustlers. Great con. I love a good con. I do. I love this thing. I love a good con. But anyway, you wanted to do something different, and we had talked a lot about Deming. And I know that you used a lot of Deming's philosophy. Deming, if you're not familiar with him, Deming went to the American car folks. I know Michael is. Deming went to the American car manufacturers and said, there's a world economy coming, and unsatisfied customers don't complain. They switch, and they're going to go to other alternatives. And the American car manufacturers said, get lost, you idiot. So he went to Japan, and they changed the world because they created for their people an environment where they just weren't working on the line, but they had to take college courses. They had to do different things to improve themselves personally. And I know that that was a lot of the model that you had in your mind before you even put this company together. Tell me what your thinking was about that and what you really wanted to do for people.
So it was always from the beginning, because even with the partners that I had then, so I had a partner that wanted to start everything with education. So, I mean, I got to give credit where credit is due. I was once again thrown into a group of people, and one of them had a great idea, and that is, I want to educate the world about, getting them informed about the blockchain and what is cryptocurrency. So that's always a great foundation to anything. So we took that idea, and then with myself and them at that time, I wanted to make sure that it was taken in progressive steps. So, because if you do it in fundamentals, and again, applying the franchise technique and applying the skill set of the average person, because the average person can't absorb everything all at once. So they're going to lose probably 20, 30% of everything that you're trying to teach them. So if you do it in steps, and then you reward them to the next step, it becomes almost a game. So people will always work harder for recognition than they ever will a dollar. But when you start teaching them and rewarding them about their own self-worth, truly the limit of what they can do by themselves is really, it's limitless. So over the last year and a half, we've taken that small idea and we've built on it to where we are today. And that is, we're actually going to continue and expand it to a world economy and actually have tools and utilities that has nothing to do that you need to stock your freezer with, nothing to stock your fridge or your warehouse. You can actually take the services and the education and apply them to yourself and actually have them work for yourself. So I'm building the foundation. I'm taking what you started, Mark. I'm taking what I have learned over the last almost 20 years and applying it to the average person that can actually utilize the education and the tools that we have to grow their self-worth and their bank. So without having to do anything else. They don't need to do anything else. They can take the education, they can take the software, they can take the ongoing education, and it's really the root of what we're doing. The education is the root, because if they apply the training and the education, they can actually do very well, even if they were in a cube. If they did everything in the cube, they'll be just fine.
Right. Well, I think what's really interesting, and I know this is sort of one of the ways that you're moving, and we see it with a wonderful, an amazing Chris Hanks with your company, who went through the master keys, and and this is not only helping him because he did the work, right? We don't change people's lives; they change their own lives. But these are the inside tracks with you, right? You want people, and your company, your company has the inside track as far as the Master Key experience. By the way, that happens in September. And you can't buy the course, so this isn't a pitch for the course. Everybody's scholarshiped. But Michael has made a special arrangement for everybody at Economics to be able to get into this course. There's limited slots in there. And I know Chris went through it, and he's transformed into the wonderful guy that he was into a wrecking crew but with humility, which is really amazing. So when you see these transformations in people, right, it gives you a feeling of great satisfaction, and that this is a movement. It's not just a company. So you're providing people with personal development first, because I think a lot of people, I know it was this way for me after 5 failures in the 80s. And then I had my first success run. In my mind, I thought I was going to make a lot of money. Then I would be a better father, a better son, a better brother, a better, deacon at my church. None of that's true. You become a better person. All right, what we're telling you, point blank, is you become better internally, and then you become a better brother, better father, better mother, better sister, better in your business, those things get better by extension. Those are confirmations of your power. The money is just going to make you more of what you were when you started. So if you were a pain in the ass to begin with, you're just a bigger pain in the ass. You've got to make an internal change, right? And I know that a lot of people experimentally went through that experience last year in your company. Has that made a difference in your company?
Yeah, you can. So I'm going to pick on Mr. Hanks. When I actually met Mr. Hanks a year before he even had the access to the MKE. I've been in person with him. Like we were just down in Tampa a couple of weeks ago with the teams, and you could literally see his ability to articulate, not with people that he has known for a while, but people that he has just met, and his ability to continue to grow and develop. And the great thing, and this is what you beat into my head when I was in my 20s, is keep the main thing the main thing. DTSD. Not only that, but he's gotten more proficient as MMAC, which is monitor, maintain, adjust, and control. So Mr. Hanks has gone to not just a friend, but we've actually promoted him to the head admin of handling all of the queue items, all the items, because of his efficiency has gone. And I'm sorry, I think you're on here, Chris, but his ability to complete items in his own life, which is again a pod. So it started with personal, and then he has applied the personal growth to business, and he's so efficient now at getting things done, which, I mean, it's the honest to goodness truth that he's taken that MKE and he's applied it to personal development. And I know for a fact his personal life is way better. It's more efficient. He articulates and communicates with his family much better. And now he's communicating much more efficiently with us, which of course led to me. I'm like, we need to make Chris is going to be head. He's going to work directly with me. And in fact, if you can get past Mr. Hanks to get to me, you've done a hell of a good job. So it's just, that's personal development. It all started with himself, and he has taken that and applied it to business, and look at where he's at now. He's working with a lot of great people. He's working as head admin to the company. Something that I know for a fact he wouldn't have thought a year and a half ago.
Well, we've seen it all over the place, and as you hop on these, we see people that always wanted to write a book. Now we have best-selling authors. We got a kid coming on this podcast next week that was playing music in his basement. He just hit #1 on Billboard, the jazz charts, because it's the same thing that happened to Chris. It's the same thing that happened to Mike, and this is what it is. Okay, they put the time in every day to start to get control. That's what this is about, taking charge. The average person can't hold a thought for more than 6 seconds, and these things end up colliding with each other. So the possibility, which is mandatory that you execute, to keep these things separate and then detach from them, and I give you a couple of pieces of information here, is not possible. If you can't hold concentration, you can't do it. So have some fun with yourself today. Hold a thought and think about something and see if you can observe your thoughts and see if you can hold the same thought for more than 6 seconds. Michael can, Chris can, and it makes all the difference in the world. The second thing is that Michael was talking about, and we've learned from the great Og Mandino, that when you're with your family, don't think about the marketplace. And when you're in the marketplace, don't think about your family, because it's one of the paradoxes of the ages. The two have to remain divorced from one another for me to remain wedded to both. This is from the great Og Mandino. When you do this and you know what I'm going to tell you next, look it up online. You're going to find Michael's suggestion: wait and then write it down after you've waited a minute or two. 90 seconds, whatever you're feeling, anger, resentment, your body has a little factory back here called the hypothalamus, and it produces neuropeptides for every emotion you have. And they pour millions of them into your system, and your cells have receptors for them. And they pour out. And that's what you're feeling when you're feeling anger or whatever. So you're actually feeling it in your whole body. And it lasts for 90 seconds. So if you're angry for more than 90 seconds, it's not in your body anymore. It's in your mind. You're hanging on to it. What Michael and Chris and people like, I see some of our wonderful friends here from the course, Karen Schreifer and Jimmy dropped in here. So many great people that we've known. Of course, the fabulous Davine is here. You know, one of the things is that to be able to detach is to start to understand how your body actually works physically. Most of us are unaware. Man, do we know how our cell phones work and the remote control on our TV? We don't know how our body works. So if you're pissed off, it's only 90 seconds. Then your body stops producing the chemical. Breathe and do what Michael said. Write down what's the real obstacle here. And is it surmountable? Can I get around it? Who do I go to? What do I? You'll start to get into the solution by detaching from that anger. But it all begins with personal development. So, Michael, let me just outline the way I see it is when you put this whole thing together, you created a standardized system with your company, right? And you're about a year and a half in.
Yeah.
And we're pushing over 20,000 people now.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's unbelievable. It's all about personal development. The mechanism is the company is economics. And then the skills or the technique, you've provided people with a standardized system there and no outside training. So there's no confusion.
No.
Basically Burger King, right? This is how we do it. If you want to do it another way, there's 10,000 companies that'll let you do it however you want, right?
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And how is the field responding to that for you?
Very positive. It's nice because actually Miss Davis is on here, so like Patricia and I have had it's very I know it's very comforting that when people can actually talk to me, the same answer that they can already get is the same answer that they're going to get from me. It's not going to be sugar coated. It's not going to be, with sprinkles on top. I'm quite blunt. In fact, they call me the hammer. Like, it's because I don't care. If you like what I say to you, great. If you don't, great. I'm not going to articulate and change something that I know is not going to help you, regardless of the issue. Doesn't matter what the issue is. But when people see that, regardless of where they are, I mean, we're across the world. It doesn't matter what culture it is. It doesn't matter if you're from the United States or Canada or Mexico or, United Kingdom. People expect to have the same type of information relayed for them on your product as it would come from, corporate. And that's why I've been, I'm also labeled Dr. No, is I have no problem telling someone no. And you're getting that no because, just like you were saying earlier, our society, I mean, people have the attention span of a goldfish. I mean, but our attention span is only cued on what makes us happy. That's the problem with today's society. Our phones make us happy. We can go get information. We can play a game. We can watch a video. We can watch a movie. So when the bad happens, we're not mentally prepared to handle anger or handle loss or handle aggression or frustration. So our bodies kick into overdrive and we hang on it. So when the chemical goes away, we're still stuck on why we're pissed or mad or because something went wrong. Stop worrying about what you can't control. There's a whole bunch in this space that you cannot control. Start worrying about what you can control. You can control where you're at in your life. You can control where you're going in life. You can control what's going on in your family pod. You can control what business you're going to be a part of. What you do after that is where it needs to happen, because if you can maintain a mental focus longer than a goldfish and map out, they call it mind mapping. If you can map out what it's going to take from A to B, I promise you, from where you started at point A is going to be an entirely wonderful end journey for you. It's not about getting to B. It's about what you experience from A to B, because you're more than likely going to have to do it again. I mean, look at me. I've done so many things. I have failed so many times, like you wouldn't believe.
Right.
But I failed forward. I took what I failed with and did it, wrote it down, and kept pushing forward. So that analogy that you hear, well, a person can move mountains. Yeah, you truly can. The difference between you getting over the mountain is whether you believe you can see yourself going through it. That's the problem.
Yeah, faith will move mountains, but like Father Martin said, you better bring a shovel. Which is always the second thing that we're talking about, because what Michael's really talking about here, what he's giving you are pragmatic steps for application. The knowledge is one thing. It's useless without the application. So what can you control? Well, if you've been on these podcasts, the only thing that you really have total control over is your thinking and the thoughts that you predominantly hold. Not the ones that you say you hold, not the ones that you say you'd like to hold, not the ones that you tell your friends you hold or that you pretend to hold, but the ones that you actually hold. If you want to know the thoughts you really hold, look at the conditions in your life. Men, are not the creatures of circumstances. Circumstances are the creatures of men. We created all the circumstances in your life. So if there's anything you don't like, don't worry about the circumstances. As Michael has taught me, retaught me over and over and over again, I created them. I was bitching about a couple of things 2 weeks ago, and he said, so how'd you create those? And I did what I usually do. I just hung up. So, and then
yeah, you see the wolf with the chain.
Mm-hmm.
That's a constant reminder. I couldn't find a picture, and my wife wouldn't let me find one. Grab it by the balls and keep going.
Yeah.
But take the fire and just go with it. You're going to get hurt. You're going to have frustration. It's going to happen. But when you grab it by the chain and control it, that's control. You grab it by the chain and control it, because at that point, when you understand you can control your emotions and then actually control your thoughts, you're next time. Here's proof in the pudding. I want everyone that listens to this to actually go out into public and act like you're pissed off. You create what response you get back from the world. And then I want you to do it at a different place and go in there and happy and smile and say hi. People can't help but to respond to positive vibe.
Mm-hmm.
It's so if you think positively and you manifest it, you will create your environment.
Right.
Why do you think a dog? You have an animal, like the dog knows when you're pissed. The dog knows when you're angry, even if you're not saying anything.
Right.
He can feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
the only reason that people don't sometimes is because they're so self-centered. Now, you don't have to worry about that, okay? You just have to worry about what's going on in your mind. Take charge of your thoughts. So Michael went from failing student to master teacher And now he's made a significant difference in our business, literally moved the decimal point for us. And we're so grateful for that. Brought me into the 20th century and out of hotel rooms into Hawaii. But anyway, it's all about concentration. And it begins by understanding, just like anything, and Michael told you, it was hard at first. It was hard. Carl Jung, who was a brilliant piece of the puzzle as we begin to understand our minds, said thinking at first is difficult. Most people don't do it. They judge instead. If you have an opinion right now, you're judgmental. All opinion is a judgment. An opinion is to try to force how you think and feel on somebody else for your esteem. That's not self-esteem. Don't draw your esteem from other people. So learning how to think, if you're not willing to put in an hour a day, if you're already thinking, I don't have an hour a day. Well, here's a guy that's running a company with 20,000+ people and all that goes with a new concept, a startup company, governments terrified of cryptocurrency because they might lose control as the people stand up and take care of themselves. Right? I don't want to pay $17 for a bank statement anymore. Okay,
right?
But anyway, for a piece of paper, right?
Right.
Anyway, still makes an hour a day and realizes it is the access that everything turns on. So big takeaway for me is personal development first. And Michael has made this part of his company. It's available in his company the same way that Deming laid it out. If you treat your people, and I want you to talk a little bit about that, Michael, you've tried to create a culture inside your company with personal development first. We've already talked about the different options for people in there and the skills. How do you feel? Do you feel I'm seeing this as a complete departure, because in the 1990s, early 2000s, Joe wanted to make extra money. He could do something. If he didn't do something like network marketing, okay, then he was working at a gas station or a 7-Eleven for part-time income, right? Or, the grocery store. He was pushing carts in the parking lot. But today, while the end user has a gazillion options online, some really bad con jobs and some decent stuff, right? That you've decided, rather than cut expenses and do less for people that join your company, you're doing more than anybody ever has. I mean, these are actually programs that are already installed in your area. Yes? Right.
Yeah. And it was funny because I think just it was yesterday or the other day, like another predominant Kevin Thompson and Troy Dooley, like being in this space. I mean, you're literally competing with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies. And everyone has the greatest thing since sliced bread. Doesn't matter what it is. Leading with the products. So like, we don't require, and Mr. Hanks and actually Patricia, I mean, we don't require you to be on a monthly. Like you don't have to do that. And you're not how you say, disenchanted, or you're not disqualified from, being able to work the business. And it's an option. People like to have options, but we always want to make sure that the first product that anyone ever is presented with is the education. Like, we don't even talk about aggressively our other products unless you've already gone through the education. And once they're in that, then that person can make an informed decision about whether they want to do something next. So I've basically taken the current model that has existed for decades, and that is, you got to do this and you got to do that, and you got to be on $200 a month, right? And you got to stock up on $1,000 worth of product and all that. It's you do one thing one time, and then you go through it, and then you be a part of a couple Zooms, and then you make a decision. And an overwhelmingly amount of people that actually go through the education actually go on to purchase our other services, and most of them, will start often, into the monthly that they are not required to do. So I've basically taken the failures and the issues that have happened with other companies and applied them to this company, and that you're not required to do this. You don't have to do that. And you have a choice. And the extra choices that you do have, you still don't need to do anything else.
Right.
You don't need to go out there and talk to mom and dad and brother and sister. You can actually go at your own pace, because everyone's pace is different than everyone else. Right. You have people that are going to go faster. You have people that are going to go slower, and that's fine. And I'll make a comment on how quickly you can get to point A to B. Like, everyone has the same amount of time every day.
Right.
I challenge everyone that's going to watch this that is currently in their life saying, "Oh my goodness, I can't even do 15 minutes. I can't even do." Look at your routine. When you wake up in the morning, what is your routine? Does your routine start with that you've already hit the snooze button 3 times? Does your routine start with that you actually woke up on the first alarm, but you only got 15 minutes to get ready to go to your job and get out the door? Start adjusting your routine. Look at the time that you waste. Literally look at the time that you waste in the morning, in the evening. Are you binge watching Netflix? Are you binge watching the screen on your phone? Like, seriously, if you can't carve out 60 minutes in one day, you're doing. Are you literally sitting in Starbucks for 30 minutes drinking a $5 coffee that you could have done at home for 80 cents? Right. It's the same coffee. It's literally the same coffee. But and carve out the time to start personally developing yourself is extremely. Literally, because time. The analogy of time as money is because you can't get it back. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah. The loneliness, disappointment, and unfulfillment that people have in their lives, we've talked about this on other calls. We fill our lives with so much, so we don't have to feel unfulfilled.
Right.
We can feel somewhat that we're participating in our lives, and we instantly say, I don't have the time for anything, because we filled our lives up. What Michael is suggesting, and you've heard this phrase on these calls or podcasts a lot, be the observer. That's what he's saying. Once you watch yourself for 48 hours, you'll find somewhere between 3 and 4 hours a day, minimal, that are useless. You don't need them. You don't need them. And I know if you're saying, he doesn't know what my life is like. Yeah, I do. I was that guy. I didn't have any time. Okay. It's about choices and getting control of your mind. So the big takeaway here, the huge one, is observe your behavior for 48 hours. Okay. Second huge takeaway I got from you, Michael, is if you feel something, fear, some obstacle, something's going to prevent you in your pursuit of something that you'd like, blow off some steam, wait 90 seconds. My suggestion to add to Michael's, taking a couple of breaths. Okay. And know this, your body's not producing the chemicals that make you feel pissed anymore. That's done. It's exhausted its temporary supply. Okay. And sit down and write down what the real problem is. Okay. Write it down. So That brings us to our little 9 questions, by the way. While most of the people at Michael's company we hopefully take up the slots, you can get to masterkeyexperience.com. These podcasts and transcripts or summary notes will be up there for you, and you can get early notification. There's limited slots because everybody gets a hands-on guide as they go through it. Michael, we love to ask these fun questions at the end so people can get to know a little bit more about you. Number 1, best thing you ever ate?
Did you say the best thing I ever ate?
Best thing you ever ate?
That would be my wife's cube steak. So yeah, I'm not just saying that because she's downstairs. I'm actually saying it because she'll actually marinate them for like 48 hours, and they just. It's, in fact, I'm drooling right now.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah.
Best place you ever visited?
The best place that I have ever currently visited is, oh boy, that's a toughie. I'm actually going to have to say Houston. I'm going to have to say Houston.
Love Houston. You ever eat at Papacitos down there?
Yeah.
The big platter.
Big
platter.
Yeah. I'm going to. I mean, and that's. I mean, that's. And I've been I've been to Las Vegas. I've been to Dallas. I've been to Tampa. I mean, I've been everywhere. It's just that niche and the culture of the. Yeah.
I like it. My brother lives there. I like Houston. Favorite word or sound?
Favorite word or sound? No.
Least favorite word or sound?
Deer.
Okay. That's complete the following 3 phrases. Love is
everything.
Money is
nothing.
Life is
sound.
If God exists, what would you like to hear him say when you get to the pearly gates?
I've been a female the whole time.
I've always, I've been attracted to you since day one, Michael. There's no doubt about it. Okay. MasterKeyExperience.com. This will be up there in about 48 hours. Check it out. And you can grab early notification for the Master Key Experience. It comes once a year. It's a 6-month course. The habits Michael talked about, he learned the basics there and has formed his own, which of course is what we want you to do. We're not turning you into us. We're helping you find yourself and create your own reality. Peace be the journey. Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark, and always good to see you. And thank you for everything, literally. And for everyone that's going to watch, if you have one choice to make, I'm telling you, I was with Mark for years, and getting 6 months of him is truly priceless. So God love everyone. And as Mark would say, peace be the journey. So God love everyone.
Thanks, Michael. We're really looking forward to serving your entire company with that experience this fall. Peace.
Amen.
Mahalo for listening. The Taking Charge podcast is a place that you can count on to receive the truth. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure to leave a review and subscribe to our channel. The show notes and links to anything we discussed today can be found at the website, takingchargethepodcast.com. Be sure to reserve your spot for the Master Key Experience. Early notification scholarships are limited. Mahalo and aloha.